Shalom, my friend. Most people pray for blessing while living in chaos, then wonder why their increase becomes their destruction. People ask God for blessing. Torah asks if their life has order. Think about this carefully. When blessing arrives without structure, it overwhelms. When increase meets disorder, it creates crisis. When abundance encounters chaos, it brings collapse. The man who cannot manage what he has will be crushed by what he receives. The woman whose life lacks foundation will buckle under expansion. This is not punishment, this is physics. I am Rabbi Shimon, the Torah life architect, translating ancient Torah design into modern clarity. What I share today is not about becoming perfect. It is not about control. It is about creating structure that can support the weight of blessing when it arrives. Today we examine the order law. God requires order before blessing. This is fundamental Torah understanding. Blessing adds weight to life. Order carries that weight. What lacks structure collapses under increase. This principle operates whether you acknowledge it or not, whether you believe it or not, whether you like it or not. Consider the man who prays for financial breakthrough. While his bills scatter across his desk, his bank account remains unreconciled, and his spending lacks any system. When money arrives, where does it go? Into the same disorganized void that swallowed his previous income. The chaos that created his lack will destroy his abundance. Or the woman who asks for relationship blessing, while her schedule has no rhythm, her home has no peace, and her priorities shift with her emotions. When love arrives, what can it rest upon? Unstable ground creates unstable connections. Disorder in life creates disorder in relationship. This is why Torah begins with order. Genesis shows us creation through structure, sequence, and separation. Day from night, waters from waters, light from darkness. God does not create through chaos. He creates through ordered progression, each element building upon the previous foundation. The order law operates across every dimension of human existence. In your daily routines, chaos masquerades as flexibility, but actually creates constant decision fatigue. When you wake without structure, each moment requires fresh choice. When you lack morning rhythm, every day starts from zero energy. When your evening has no pattern, rest becomes random rather than restorative. In your finances, disorder appears as freedom, but actually creates constant stress. Bills arrive randomly because payment systems remain random. Money disappears mysteriously because spending tracks nothing. Debt accumulates steadily because income allocation follows impulse rather than intention. Then you pray for increase while your current resources leak through structural gaps. In your work systems, disorganization feels creative but actually limits progress. Projects start enthusiastically but stall without process. Ideas generate excitement but disappear without capture systems. Effort expends itself without producing cumulative results. You work harder while accomplishing less because energy scatters rather than focuses. In family life, flexibility seems loving but actually creates instability. Children need predictable boundaries, not shifting rules. Marriages need reliable rhythms, not emotional weather patterns. Households need consistent patterns, not perpetual improvisation. Love requires structure to grow, just as plants need soil to flourish. In spiritual practice, spontaneity feels authentic but actually prevents depth. Prayer becomes sporadic emotional response rather than consistent connection. Study happens only when inspiration strikes rather than building systematic understanding. Spiritual growth requires regular cultivation, not occasional intensity. Disorder leaks blessing faster than chaos creates it. Imagine pouring water into a bucket with holes. The pouring may be generous, but the vessel cannot hold what it receives. Increase flows through structural gaps. Abundance escapes through organizational holes. Blessing dissipates through systematic weaknesses. Chaos wastes increase by spreading it across too many directions. Energy that could build becomes energy that merely maintains. Resources that could multiply become resources that merely survive. Time that could compound becomes time that merely passes. Without structure, increase becomes consumption rather than investment. Good intentions without structure fail under pressure every time. Motivation fluctuates, feelings change, circumstances shift, but systems endure. Structures carry load when emotions cannot. Order functions when inspiration fails. This is why successful people rely on process, not passion. Process continues when passion pauses. Now we examine the three-order laws that govern how blessing responds to structure. First order law: what is not organized cannot multiply. Multiplication requires systematic repetition. Seeds scattered randomly may sprout, but they cannot be harvested efficiently. Efforts applied sporadically may produce results, but they cannot be scaled systematically. Relationships maintained chaotically may survive, but they cannot deepen predictably. Organization creates the conditions for exponential growth rather than linear struggle. Second order law: order converts effort into progress. This is the moment most people lose momentum, not because they lack effort, but because effort without structure has nowhere to land. Without structure, effort circles back on itself. You work hard, but cover the same ground repeatedly. You invest energy, but build no momentum. You make attempts, but create no advancement. Order channels effort toward cumulative results. Structure ensures that today's work builds upon yesterday's foundation and supports tomorrow's expansion. Third order law: blessing rests where structure already exists. Divine increase seeks stable platforms. Heaven does not waste supernatural provision on natural disorder. God blesses prepared ground, not wishful thinking. Blessing gravitates toward readiness, not neediness. This is why the prepared person receives opportunity, while the unprepared person receives disappointment. Consider the Mishkan, the dwelling place God commanded Moses to build in the wilderness. Before God's presence would descend, every measurement had to be precise. Every material had to be specified. Every process had to follow exact sequence. Think of blessing like electricity. Without wiring, the power doesn't illuminate, it burns. The skilled craftsman could not improvise. The construction could not approximate. The assembly could not vary from the divine blueprint. Why such precision? Because God's presence carries infinite weight. Only perfect structure could support divine habitation. Approximate order would collapse under absolute holiness. Near precision would shatter under complete perfection. The structure had to match the blessing it was designed to carry. This reveals essential design logic. God establishes pattern before presence. He creates sequence before sanctification. He builds structure before blessing. The physical framework had to precede the spiritual filling. The material foundation had to support the supernatural manifestation. The same principle governs your life. God prepares the vessel before pouring the oil. He builds the foundation before raising the building. He creates the capacity before providing the abundance. Your order creates space for God's blessing. Your structure provides platform for heaven's increase. Now examine your life through these lenses. Where is my life functional but disorganized? You may be surviving, even succeeding, but without systematic support. Success without structure remains vulnerable. Function without foundation stays fragile. You need order, not because you are failing, but because you are preparing for greater weight. What areas rely on motivation instead of systems? Motivation serves as temporary fuel, not permanent foundation. Systems operate regardless of how you feel. Structure functions whether you are inspired or exhausted. Blessed people build systems that work without constant emotional energy. They create order that sustains itself. What responsibilities lack clear structure? Responsibilities without structure become burdens rather than blessings. Children without routine create chaos rather than joy. Finances without systems create stress rather than security. Work without process creates exhaustion rather than expansion. Structure transforms responsibility from drain to gain. Where do I rely on pressure instead of order? Pressure creates short-term results but long-term damage. Deadline panic produces immediate output but systemic breakdown. Crisis energy generates temporary solutions but permanent problems. Order eliminates the need for pressure by creating consistent progress. What simple system would stabilize growth immediately? Growth requires stability beneath it. Without foundational order, expansion creates instability. One simple system, implemented consistently, can transform chaotic growth into sustainable progress. Start where structure would create the most immediate stability. Some will say, I am not naturally organized. Torah responds, organization is not personality trait, but life skill. You can learn structure just as you learned language. You can develop systems just as you developed habits. Natural tendency matters less than intentional choice. Order comes through decision, not disposition. Others claim, I work better under pressure. Torah responds, pressure indicates poor preparation, not superior performance. Pressure creates stress chemicals that impair judgment over time. Pressure forces reactive rather than proactive responses. Pressure may produce short-term results, but prevents long-term sustainability. Order eliminates pressure by creating predictable progress. Still others ask, isn't faith enough? Torah responds, faith without corresponding action remains theory, not practice. Faith that refuses practical structure is presumption, not trust. God honors faith that prepares for blessing, not faith that expects blessing to compensate for lack of preparation. Faith and order work together, not against each other. What comes next is the difference between people who stay stuck repeating this lesson and people who finally move forward. Faith says God will bless. Order says you will be ready when He does. Faith expects increase. Order creates capacity for that increase. Faith believes in supernatural provision. Order builds natural structure to steward that provision. Faith without order limits blessing. Order without faith limits perspective. Together they create conditions for sustained abundance. The order law operates regardless of your spiritual background, religious affiliation, or personal beliefs. Structure supports weight according to engineering principles, not theological positions. Systems produce results according to design laws, not denominational doctrines. Order creates stability according to universal patterns, not cultural preferences. Jewish or non-Jewish, religious or secular, traditional or modern, the order law applies to your life. Blessing seeks structure. Increase requires capacity. Growth demands foundation. This principle transcends religious categories because it reflects creation design embedded in reality itself. Consider your morning routine. Does it create energy or drain energy? Does it establish direction or leave you wandering? Does it connect you to purpose or scatter your focus? Morning structure sets the trajectory for entire days. Evening structure determines sleep quality and next day preparation. Weekly structure creates rhythm that sustains monthly progress. Monthly structure builds momentum for yearly achievement. Consider your financial structure. Do you know exactly what money arrives and when? Do you know precisely where money goes and why? Do you allocate resources intentionally or let spending happen randomly? Financial order is not about restriction, but about direction. Money flows more freely through organized channels than chaotic distribution. Consider your work systems. Do you have processes that produce predictable results? Do you have methods that build cumulative progress? Do you have structures that function whether you feel motivated or not? Work order is not about rigidity, but about efficiency. Systematic effort produces exponential results, while scattered effort produces linear struggle. Consider your relationship patterns. Do you invest in connections systematically or sporadically? Do you communicate through established rhythms or only during crisis? Do you build intimacy through consistent presence or emotional intensity? Relational order creates safety that allows vulnerability. Structure provides predictability that enables trust. Consider your spiritual consistency. Do you connect with transcendence regularly or only when desperate? Do you study wisdom systematically or only when convenient? Do you practice gratitude as discipline or only as feeling? Spiritual order creates capacity for increasing revelation. Systematic practice builds cumulative understanding. The order law challenges popular assumptions about spontaneity and freedom. Many people equate structure with limitation, but Torah reveals structure as liberation. Order frees you from constant decision-making about basics so you can focus energy on important matters. Structure eliminates daily chaos so you can concentrate on meaningful creation. Systems provide freedom, not restriction. When fundamental patterns operate automatically, consciousness becomes available for higher functions. When basic structures handle routine matters, attention can focus on exceptional opportunities. When order governs regular responsibilities, energy remains available for irregular possibilities. This understanding transforms how you approach blessing. Instead of asking why increase has not arrived, ask whether your life can handle increase when it comes. Instead of requesting more opportunity, examine whether you can steward current opportunity effectively. Instead of seeking greater responsibility, ensure you are managing present responsibility systematically. God does not withhold blessing to be difficult. He delays blessing until structure can support it. Divine timing often reflects preparation time, not arbitrary waiting. Heaven coordinates increase with readiness, not impatience with delay. Blessing arrives when foundation exists to sustain it. The order law reveals why some people receive blessing that destroys them while others receive blessing that elevates them. Unprepared blessing becomes a burden. Unexpected increase creates overwhelm. Unstructured abundance generates chaos rather than security. Structure determines whether blessing builds or breaks you. Prepared People recognize blessing when it arrives because they created space to receive it. Organized people can multiply blessing because they have systems to manage it. Structured people can sustain blessing because they built foundation to support it. Order creates the conditions for blessing to accomplish its intended purpose. Your assignment is simple but not easy. Create one simple structure before asking heaven for blessing. Choose one area where order would create immediate stability. Build one system that would function without constant attention. Establish one pattern that would eliminate regular chaos. Start small, but start systematically. One organized area creates momentum for broader organization. One functioning system demonstrates the power of structure. One effective pattern reveals the peace that order brings. Small structure consistently maintained becomes large structure automatically sustained. Do not attempt complete transformation immediately. Order builds incrementally, not instantly. Structure develops gradually, not dramatically. Systems mature progressively, not perfectly. Begin with one simple change and allow its success to inspire broader implementation. Remember, this is not about perfection, but about progression. Not about control, but about capacity. Not about rigidity, but about readiness. Order serves blessing, not the reverse. Structure supports increase, not limits it. System enables abundance, not restricts it. The order law operates in your life whether you understand it or acknowledge it. Structure will either support your blessing or blessing will overwhelm your structure. Order will either prepare you for increase or increase will destabilize your life. Systems will either help you steward abundance or abundance will scatter through systematic gaps. Your choice is not whether the order law applies to you. Your choice is whether you will align with it intentionally or learn it through consequence. Torah offers wisdom to prepare you for blessing. Experience will teach you the same lessons, but usually after blessing has been wasted through structural inadequacy. Choose preparation over pressure. Choose system over struggle. Choose order over chaos. Choose structure that can carry the weight of the blessing you are requesting. Your soul is the blueprint. Your life is the construction. Shalom, my friend. Now let's build the life God designed for you.